Would you like to be somebody who understands what the sickness of the spirit is and how this sickness has befallen modern Western individuals? Then listen to this entire video. So I already made a video where I diagnose what this sickness is, and I diagnose sort of modern people, Western people, and in this video now, part 2, I will be continuing the explanation for the sickness of the spirit and sort of the consequences. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, and how to reduce suffering in life. Okay, let's get into it. Now, as we said in the last video, there's an important distinction in life between the things we understand and the things we don't understand. And the things we understand exist in sort of formulated, articulated consciousness. They're the things we can actively think of. And then those things we don't understand at all, well, they're there, but we don't understand them. And in between these two is a layer of the things we unconsciously understand, and our body understands. And we understand these things in a way that we behave. We behave in certain ways we don't understand, but clearly we're behaving as if we know something. Or we get random thoughts pop up in our head, like, where did the thought come from? Well, maybe we know something unconsciously and our unconscious is trying to communicate it to us. Or you have random moods that arise. Or maybe your emotions are shifting because your body knows something, but you aren't aware of it. So there's this important layer of things that we sort of understand, but not consciously. And this layer is it's like a bridge between that which we know and that which we don't know. And the layer is occupied by artists, because artists observe people, they observe humans, and try to distill their behavior into like an abstraction or a representation. So maybe a musician observes people who are in love and then writes a love song with the words or the emotions that people are feeling, and when you hear the song, it speaks to you and you feel attracted to it. The frequency sort of resonates with you. It's because the song is telling a story of something that you are going to live out, because you as a human being, you will have like a relatively predetermined life. You sort of if you're well integrated, you grow up, become an adult, you fall in love, you marry somebody and then get kids, and this falling in love thing is it's part of your instinct and part of who you are as a human, because that's what humans have always been doing. When you hear this song, it speaks to you. And what these artists have been able to do is explain what humans are like. Because when we separated from chimpanzees, we didn't really know what we were like. Chimpanzees can't say like, yeah, I'm a conscious chimpanzee, I know what I'm doing, what the meaning of life is and all these things. No, they just exist like other animals. They just go out and do their thing, try and eat, find something to eat, survive and reproduce. But we are actually somehow we are separated from animals in that we're trying to figure out what the point of life is and what's the best way to live. And in order to do that, you first need to know what humans are actually like. What do they behave? What is their nature? What does their nature consist of? And that is what art has tried to portray, and that has been in the form of literature, music, film. What else? Stories, which might fall under literature also. And when an artist creates this piece of art which explains human behavior, we are able to absorb it, think about it, and then discuss it. And when you discuss it, you integrate it into your consciousness, and you realize, wow, somehow this book really attracted me. And you figure out that it was a book about resentment and how what happens within the human psychology when somebody is resentful and wants to becomes vindictive and hell-bent on murdering somebody. Well, maybe you're resentful and this book is telling you something and trying to it's a solution to your resentment maybe, and you're attracted to it. Yes, so we've been able to distill human nature relatively to some sort of into our consciousness, and that's I think is the process which has happened for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, where humans have been developing these stories and these representations of our nature, our being, and over time we have interpreted it and integrated it into our awareness, and we've been able to articulate it and hand it down to our offspring so they also know it then. Yeah. And the thing is, if we go back to this unarticulated and articulated knowledge, so it seems like there is a well, obviously there's the foundation, there's some sort of objective truth that goes on, and our consciousness is like is a bit of understanding of this underlying objective truth. We've been able to sort of crystallize it a little bit, and obviously there's still so much more that we don't understand about ourselves, and this is the case because you might want to be very disciplined, you might want to work out every day, you might want to be friendly to others, you might want to have a strict diet, you might want to fix or resolve a conflict you had with somebody, but you don't do these things necessarily, and that's because there's so much about yourself that you don't know, that we're ignorant to, and hence we're still trying to integrate this unknown knowledge into our consciousness, because it's like this unknown knowledge is there and it speaks to us through our actions, through our thoughts, through our emotions and moods, which is not necessarily something we are conscious of. It's almost like the underlying truth, or like our human nature, communicates to us through our actions, and actually it surpasses our consciousness. Like it jumps directly into the actions and the way we behave. Because you might behave in a way which you didn't predict, or you wouldn't expect you would have behaved, but you behaved in a way. So it means your body knows something, wants to manifest some behavior which you're not conscious of, which is another example of how little we know about ourselves. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes to see what I've written down. Yeah. And I think our consciousness is sort of like the birthplace of integrating the unarticulated knowledge into the articulated. Like you could sort of think of it hypothetically as like when we separated from chimpanzees, our consciousness was this big, it was like non-existent, and as we integrated and learned more about ourselves, it became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we still have a long way to go, let's say. Yep. And the sickness, sorry, before I was about to forget it, the sickness of the spirit is basically that we have the bridge between the unarticulated, objective underlying knowledge and the articulated knowledge has become dissociated in modern Western societies. Like they're no longer in sync, because I think previously Christianity was sort of the bridge, in that it was sort of half of the unarticulated and half of the articulated knowledge. So it was collated. What we had learned about human nature was collated into this book, the Bible, and it wasn't a track record, but it was like it was our CV. It was the CV of human nature, all the things we've sort of learned about ourselves, not what we've achieved, but what we've learned about ourselves. And it's your storage. It's humanity's knowledge, storage of knowledge. It's library, let's say, about itself. It's memory. The Bible is the human memory, and it is a product of the dreaming, of the bridge, of integrating this unarticulated knowledge into the conscious mind. It is what we have learned to date. And when Christianity declined because of the scientific revolution and sort of Catholicism had developed this mind or this value structure that put the truth above everything else. And because in Europe, let's say, and because Christianity entailed a fair amount of axioms that were dogmatic and not really based on evidence, or evidence we, let's say, had, it was sort of denied almost, and then God was killed, let's say, as Nietzsche claimed. So Christianity sort of declined into the shadow of science, and science is not based, let's say, on our memory, on the memory of humanity, let's say, but it sort of started. I wouldn't say it started from scratch, but it tries to observe reality with a purely objective and a non-spiritual sense. However, the spiritual is the bridge, let's say, because there is a part of human nature that is hard to measure, like dreams. Your unconscious speaks to you, the unarticulated knowledge speaks to you through dreams. Like, the dream is doing its best to formulate that which you don't know about yourself and trying to help you integrate it into your awareness. And science struggles to measure dreams and the purpose of dreams, let's say, so it sort of maybe is like pushed aside as irrelevant. And yes, and because Christianity was the bridge to our unarticulated knowledge, we detached from it, and now we just this sort of like lost, flailing society that is trying to figure out like how to live, but its memory of all its ancestors have just been thrown out of the window, it's like throwing your CV out of the window and starting from scratch again. It's like you're going to be lost. You don't know what to do, how to behave. And that is, I think, is what is happening with modern day people in the West, that they start thinking things they don't behave. So there's a detachment that their behavior and thoughts are out of sync, and their behavior and the dream, which tries to speak, which is directly connected to your behavior, like the unarticulated knowledge about yourself, which you kind of know but not consciously, that used to speak to your behavior, is now detached, and you're behaving in weird ways that aren't connected to your true essence of human nature. Yeah, so we're thinking things that aren't real or aren't based in the truth, and we're behaving in ways that aren't based in the truth either. And then you have psychological pathologies that arise. So in conclusion, the sickness of the spirit stems from this dissociation between the unarticulated truth of reality and experience and the articulated knowledge that we have, and they have become out of sync because we have sort of denied the memory of humanity, which is a collective effort to interpret the unarticulated knowledge into our consciousness and understand the true essence of the universe and our human nature, or more our human nature, I'd say. And we are not considering it, we're not learning from it, we have thrown it out of the window, and now we're sort of starting from scratch again, trying to figure out how to live, and we're just scrambling for some sort of foundation to give us some sort of belief system in life, and we result to ideologies which are non-exhaustive, misleading religions, let's say, that aren't founded in the truth of human nature, but some sort of dissociated thought process, or thoughts, I'd say, and that arises in psychological pathologies, which is the sickness of the spirit, let's say. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, and how to reduce suffering in life. Thank you for listening.